Okay, so we're diving into some golf course drama today.
Oh, yeah.
Our listener wrote in, and you know what?
Always entertaining.
It really is. It's like almost everyone who's played golf with friends has a story about the rules getting a little flexible, shall we say.
Absolutely. I mean, it's practically a universal experience, right? Like that moment where you realize, oh, this friendly round just turned into a full-on rulebook debate.
Exactly. And in this case, we've got Blas Eugenio, Javier, and Hector,
Okay.
keeping it competitive as always. Blas and Eugenio versus Javier and Hector.
Very.
Already sounds like a recipe for a classic rivalry.
It does. A tale as old as time, right? Two teams, a golf course, and just a dash of competitive spirit to make things interesting.
Yeah, a dash is a bit of an understatement from what we're hearing. It sounds like Javier and Hector's interpretation of the rules is,
Liberal.
let's call it liberal.
Right.
Yeah. You even mentioned a reliable committee being formed.
A committee. Okay, so that implies this isn't just a one-time misunderstanding. We're talking about a pattern here.
Oh, yeah. This is serious business, apparently. And the main source of these disagreements, the drop.
The drop. Interesting.
Yeah, that seemingly simple act of picking your ball up and putting it back down.
You'd think it'd be straightforward, right?
You'd think so, but trust me, there's more to it.
Well, with golf rules, there's always more to the story, isn't there? Because it's not as simple as just dropping it anywhere you like. We've got lost balls, out of bounds, shots, those dreaded water hazards. Each scenario comes with its own set of regulations, and that's usually where the trouble starts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've got Javier and Hector maybe testing the boundaries of interpreting the rules,
Right.
while Blas and Eugenio have become the official referees, it seems.
Sounds like the reliable committee was born out of necessity. It's true. Though it does make you wonder what Javier and Hector are doing out there if they haven't established some common ground on the rules.
Right. It's like they're speaking different languages on the golf course.
Exactly. So much confusion.
So how do we get everyone speaking the same language? Is it time to consult the official rule book?
Well, there's a reason they call it a rule book and not a rule pamphlet. That USGA website is surprisingly comprehensive.
Oh, it can be intimidating. You go there for a quick answer about dropping your ball, and suddenly you're drowning in diagrams and definitions.
It really is a whole other world, and I think that's part of what makes these disagreements so common. It's true. Like you mentioned water hazards earlier.
Right.
The average golfer might think, okay, my ball's wet, I'll just drop it here.
Makes sense to me.
But the rules actually have different procedures depending on whether that hazard is marked with yellow or red, how the ball got in there in the first place.
Oh, wow.
It's very specific.
It really is. You'd almost need to have that reliable committee on speed dial out there.
You would. But you have to appreciate the attention to detail.
I do. It's like they were trying to predict every possible scenario on the golf course.
It's impressive. And it just goes to show why these seemingly small disagreements pop up all the time. Golf has a surprisingly complex set of rules.
Which leads us to some of those terms our listener mentioned.
Let's hear them.
They said hazards and obstructions were frequent points of contention.
Ah, yes, those are good ones. They seem simple enough on the surface, but there are some key distinctions.
Like what?
Well, a hazard is a permanent fixture of the course, like a bunker, a pond, strategically placed to make things interesting.
Right.
Obstructions, on the other hand, are temporary.
Okay.
Things like a fallen tree or maybe some maintenance equipment left out, and each one has its own set of rules for how you can take relief.
So knowing Javier and Hector's reputation, I can just imagine a rogue sprinkler head causing a full-blown debate about whether it qualifies as an obstruction.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where it gets really interesting. Because the rules themselves are just one piece of the puzzle.
What else is there?
You've got interpretation judgment calls, maybe a bit of gamesmanship that can creep in, especially in a close match.
Let's be honest. Sometimes it's a little bit of selective memory about the rules, too. Especially when you're down by a stroke or two.
The human element, it's all part of the game. Which brings us back to our listener and their rule-bending friends. How do we apply all this to bring peace and harmony back to the green?
So we've given our listener the knowledge,
Yeah.
but how do they use it? Should they show up with a referee outfit and a whistle next time?
Well, as fun as that would be, I think there are more subtle approaches.
Right, because we don't want to turn a friendly game into a courtroom drama.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, upholding the rules, but keeping the game enjoyable for everyone.
Okay, so let's say our listener is facing down another classic Javier and Hector moment.
Oh, I love these hypothetical scenarios.
This time, they've declared a free drop because of an unforeseen gopher infestation on the fairway.
Unforeseen by anyone except maybe the gophers themselves.
Exactly. So what do?
You could try a little humor, I think.
Yeah.
A little bit of doubt. Hold on, guys. You say before we proceed with this whole gopher relocation program, I'm pretty sure we need to consult the rulebook on rodents and their impact on lateral relief.
So you're not coming in hot with a rule book. You're just reminding them it exists.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plant that seed of doubt. You never know. That might be enough to nudge them towards a more by-the-book interpretation.
Okay. I like the subtle approach. But part of me also wants to lean into the drama a bit. What if our listeners showed up with a framed copy of the USGA rulebook,
Now you're talking.
displayed prominently on the golf cart? Just making sure we're all on the same page, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Feel free to consult the rules at any time.
I can imagine the look on Javier and Hector's faces. And you know what? Those little rituals, that shared acknowledgement of the rules, can actually go a long way in preventing those disagreements in the first place.
It's like setting the tone right. We're here to have fun, but we also respect the game.
Absolutely. But let's be realistic. Sometimes those debates are going to happen anyway.
So then what?
Take a deep breath. Remember, it's just a game. And you're there to enjoy time with your friends.
It's not about winning or losing. It's about how many questionable drop shots you can get away with, right?
Well, maybe not quite, but I like where your head's at. Embrace the chaos. Enjoy the company. And maybe invest in a good sense of humor. It's the most important piece of equipment on the golf course.
Words to live by. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the mysteries of the rule book and the enduring bonds forged on the fairway.
Until next time.
May your drives be long and your disputes even longer.